Hi, I'm Zoe Wong. I'm a slow fashion designer and I'm going to be showing you how to make a macrame plant hanger and a decorated plant pot from recycled materials. What you'll need is some plants, some plastic bottles, paint, a plate or a paint palette, some brushes, water, a little bit of dried tissue paper, and what we're going to be using is t-shirt fabric. So you can use an old t-shirt and cut it up, and I'll show you how. So you might need a little bit of help for this. You're going to take your plastic bottle and a sharp scissors. Find where you want to cut and cut across in a straight line. You can flatten the bottle to make it a little bit easier. Now, there might be some sharp edges along the cut edge, so what you can do is just trim these off and make sure it's nice and smooth. Now, you can also use the little ring that's on the top of the bottle, and just using your scissors or something sharp, you can just pry it off. I've got one here from a milk jug bottle, and we'll be using that later for the plant hanger. Now for the fun part, using poster paints, or I've got acrylic paint here, we're going to put some out on our plate and paint the bottle. So while the one I just did dries, I've one here that I've prepared earlier. This is a yogurt pot that I've upcycled, which I've painted black. I've done a few little pencil sketchings, and I'm going to put out some paint now to do my final step of decoration. You can do almost any pattern with this. I've just done a few abstract faces using singular lines. You could also do lots of different colours and patterns. I've got one here that I did earlier with just lines and dots. While we wait for the pots to dry, we're going to tidy up and start prepping for our macrame plant hangers. If you have a t-shirt on hand, you can use the fabric from that, but I have some jersey t-shirt fabric here that I'm going to use. Using a sharp scissors, you're going to cut about 1 inch width of the fabric. cut all the way across, and you want to get as long as you possibly can out of the fabric. This ensures that when you're going to do your knots and tie your plant hanger, you have plenty of space to work with. What you'll see is the fabric will naturally want to curl, and that's a good sign. It doesn't matter if it's not even, as long as it's more or less straight. The reason for this is it'll curl, so it'll hide any of your jagged edges. So my pieces are extra long. If yours are not as long as mine, this is about 1 meter and a bit, you want to cut 8 pieces. If you're like me and have quite long pieces, then you only need to cut 4. Once you have the lengths, you want to actually stretch them. Once you stretch them to capacity, then you can't stretch them anymore, you'll notice that they curl up into this little rope here. So you want to do this to all 4 or 8 pieces of your cut fabric. Use all the strength you've got. This is my second one. What's great about this fabric is if you've got t-shirts, you can actually bulk do this. I've done it before with a ball here, and this is actually one t-shirt, and it's really good for home use and just for having around in the house for tying bits and bobs around. Now that you've got all pieces of fabric cut and pulled, you're going to line them up edge to edge. So there's another one there. Make sure they don't get tangled up. And one more here. If you've got very long pieces like me, you can half them to make 8. Your ideal is to have 8 in total. 8 strands. Now, remember these loops that I pulled off the bottle? You're going to thread your length of fabric through this, and this will give you your loop to hang your plant hanger. Now what you're going to do is tie a knot just underneath your plastic loop. Now you're going to separate your strands into pairs. So we've got 2 here, 2 here, got 2 here, and 2 here. A little bit down, you're going to tie a knot with the 2 strands. So here's the first knot. Pull that tight. Now, using this first knot, you're going to measure the next knot and do it at around the same spot. Tie a knot of those 2 pairs. So with the next stage, you're going to put the first strand aside and you're going to tie the second and third strand together in another knot. You'll do that with the next pair. And again, the last set here. You're now left with the first and last strand of your hanger. What you're going to do is take the first one and the last one, and you're going to pair those up and tie a knot with those two. So you're now going to repeat the last step until you get either to the bottom or to your desired length. So I'm going to keep going now. You pair your second and your third strand and knot it. And finally, your first and last strand. So with your final stage is very simple. You're going to grab all strands at the about 2 inches from your last set of knots and tie one big knot with all 8 strands. It's a bit tricky. Go. Pull those out. Great. This knot is the base of your hanger, so your plant pot will be sitting in at the bottom here. You can actually leave this as a decoration. You can split the fabric, or you can just leave it as is and just give a little trim so that it's all even. If you're feeling decorative, you can string some beads to the bottom and tie some knots. But that essentially is your plant hanger. So this is the completed one, and this is one I've made earlier, which is a little bit smaller for my little tiny plant pot. I'll just pop it into its little macrame sling. And it hangs very happy in its little home. And I've got more here. There's so many ways that you can upcycle fabric and your recyclable plastics, but this is one really good way that'll last a lifetime and keep your plants very happy.